Come on, Santa Baby song, please. Hey y'all, we are trying a slightly different location for filming this time. We're doing it in front of the fake fireplace that I have, or it was at one point a real fireplace, but now it's been boarded up. Partially because this has a better access for the charger, so that's part of the reason why, because I'm charging my phone still while recording. Or really what's happening is I'm pretty much just making sure that it doesn't decrease in charge. So today's video is going to be a little bit more on talking about something kind of vulnerable when it comes to my personal life. I mean, you guys have seen a lot, but this is involving dating. I mention it because as you guys have seen, I have had 2 years of having a New Year's resolution that was going on more dates, and specifically I did specify okay, you're going on this many dates at least. And part of the reason I want to talk about it is like I said, it is a vulnerable thing. It is kind of touchy. Part of it is I haven't been very lucky in relationships. I have always been kind of boy crazy. I acknowledge that that is something that I have been most of my life, but I've always been kind of awkward, and I know I'm not the best looking person. My face is not even close to symmetric, but I still want to look for somebody, and I'm not overly upset with how I look. I just know I'm not not the prettiest girl in the room. I know that much. Also with all of it, I was on the heavier side, and I was in a pretty I'm not gonna say vain area, but there was a lot of girls and women who were a lot more petite than I always have been. It didn't help that I danced for so many years. It does not help that the general population was also much more likely to be Vietnamese, and a lot of my Vietnamese friends on average were just generally smaller. It's one of those things where I actually for some stores in the area they didn't carry a lot of the not even super large sizes, but slightly larger sizes, because they just don't sell well there. So there's no reason for them to have it, because if the community doesn't need generally a lot of the size 14 clothing, then it doesn't make sense for them to carry. It just then has meant that it was harder for me to find clothing when it generally is should have been a lot easier. I mean, now that I'm here in Europe, I've been having a similar problem, and I think this year also I've generally dealt with a lot of the self-esteem issues, because it was hard to find a dress for my graduation, but I found one. Look at that. I look really good in that dress. Mostly, I think it's my boobs look really good in that dress. And now it's been hard to find jeans. I think the only place I could find jeans that fit comfortably was H&M, and that was a single pair. That's been kind of my self-esteem, and my looks generally have not helped with dating. I know that much. When I was in middle and high school, the problem was I was awkward. I was pimply. I was overweight. And just I still sometimes wonder about my personality, if it was anything that interested guys. And the thing is, most of the people I knew in school were people I know. Some of the people I knew since kindergarten. Others I'd known at least 4th grade or 6th grade. So, and up to high school kind of thing. So nobody liked me. I never once got asked out on a date in high school or asked out to a dance. I had to ask a friend to go to prom with me, because the only prospect I had going to prom with a date was this sophomore who really wanted to go to prom, and so he was trying to find any junior or senior. And I was no, I'm not doing that. So I had asked a friend, and I had done the promposal. Never got the cute photos, because he's don't post it. The coding's really bad on it. And I'm darn it. I tried to do something cute. And you're probably wondering, yeah, friend? I'm yeah. He was also in a relationship. It was one of those things where we were just friends, we're pretty close. And it was one of those things where I was hey, friend, is your girlfriend okay with you going to prom with me? And he's yeah, sure. And then by coincidence, actually my prom was the best prom out of the 3 he went to. So that makes me happy. And like he tried to make it as like fun for me as possible, which I really, really appreciated. And then once I got to college, I almost immediately started on the apps. I do acknowledge the fact that there were some questionable initial matches. Most 18-year-old girls make that mistake and then hopefully learn pretty quickly. Mostly it's that comment of why the heck is a 28-year-old man like have his age preferences all the way down to 18. The 18-year-old doesn't really understand it and like will have it set a lot higher, but the older person really should have known better. My first date though was, I forgot where, but it was in Minnesota right before I left for like back home for after my first semester. Like literally I had the date and then I got on a plane and back home. That was my first date ever. Didn't even end with a kiss. I think it ended with a hug. I had already also matched with a couple of other people, and one of them I talked to all of break and finally had gone on a date with him. God, was he boring as hell. Like, it was so boring and dry, and I just was like, nope. He was my first kiss. And then after that, it ended up being things like I went on another like 2 dates with somebody who my friends had set me up with. Coincidentally, all 3 of those guys were J names. Also, the guy that was my first kiss, 3 years later, hit me up again on the apps, like, because we'd never unmatched. And I was like, who the heck? And I was like, oh, now I remember. And I was like, no, dude, I don't want to talk to you. You were so boring. But the thing is, this like 2-date curse continued for quite some time. I only ever would get to the second date. One of the times it was because this guy fully friend-zoned me. We met on an app and we were chatting. And he seemed nice enough. And then while we were getting ready for the second date, he's like, so we're going as friends, right? Or maybe it was, yes, we were getting ready for like the third date. He's like, so we're going as friends, right? And I'm like, wait, friends? Oh, okay, friends. As I texted all my friends to join us on that date. So we were friends. Everybody was joining. I did not get to the third date until my junior year with a guy that was okay. Turns out like where we had a lot of connections just by sheer coincidence. It was not anything one way or the other. I just remember I'd gone on a date with him and 2 other people. I'd gone on 3 dates in about the span of 36 hours. But I'd had a fun time and I was going to like explore my options because it was just singular dates. Though in all of it just kind of never got anywhere past like 2-3 dates. Let's be honest, once the semester would start, I would not like want to date much because things would get busy and I wouldn't out for half time. But I was lonely. At that point, I had not had any really like physical relationships. I think at that point, like I had not had another kiss until that like summer, actually, when I was interning in Seattle and I was like, I'm gonna do more. And I ended up going on a date with one guy who ran so late and things just never worked out. And then another guy who the big thing with him is I just felt like he kind of catfished me a bit. And the first date was okay. And that had been kind of spur of the moment. We'd already set up a different date. And I was like, okay, I'm going to follow through with this date. But that was not what I was feeling. Like I was very uncomfortable during the entire thing, as I learned later on. And that date had made me feel miserable. And other date that was kind of fun was I got to go on a date with the Australian. And like we there because there was one Australian intern. He was actually my second kiss, which was kind of fun. But I had felt generally rejected and hopeless because that had already been after a different incident where there was somebody I'd had a huge crush on. I had finally confessed that once like they were single, because like in this whole thing, I'd had a crush on somebody. They'd been with their partner for like 5 years. So I'm like, I'm not going to say anything that is like highly, highly inappropriate. I can look from afar, but like I'm not going to wish ill on the relationship. That's just horrible. Later on, they ended up like breaking up with that said partner and I shot my shot. We went on a couple of dates, but this person never saw it as anything more, but we were still friends. I just had the like bummer when this said friend said that they liked somebody else who was also one of my really dear friends. And I was not going to stop them. Like, that's not my place to do that. But that had also really hurt my self-esteem a lot. That I didn't feel like I was good enough in that sense. Once I got to my senior year of college, I did end up in a relationship. You guys saw, when I first started my videos, I was dating somebody. I'd had a boyfriend. That was not a healthy relationship, honestly. I was very conflict avoidant because I didn't want to like shake the boat. I wanted to be in that relationship. I was so desperate to really be in a relationship. I let so many things slide. He would not like text for days on end, or he would not communicate when he was coming to pick me up until like 10 minutes beforehand while I was still getting ready. Or I was like planning to get ready, but I was going to time it based off of when like he was going to arrive. I still think of how so many times there'd be things like, oh, I wanted to do something, and he would just be like, no. Like, he didn't care about my birthday or Valentine's Day, which were really important to me. And like, there was things, because he was in a fraternity, he had something that was going on the day of my birthday party. He could have gotten out of it, because I had friends who were also in that fraternity who were like, yeah, he could have gotten out of it, but he didn't, and that really hurt. And then he knew how much Valentine's meant to me, and he didn't do anything. He actually moped around. That was hard. And then, as I learned after the fact, he still had Tinder on his phone 6 months after we were dating. I don't know if he messaged anybody, like, and the only reason I found out he'd even had it on his phone was because it was one of those like, oh, like Tinder periodically does pop-up things, and I think about that, and it hurts. As you guys saw, we broke up, and then I'll be honest, I not immediately afterwards got into a relationship, but I did get into another relationship. It started as a flirtationship back in like the end of the summer. There was one friend who had made early on in college who, like, we'd gone in and out of being really close or not. We'd ended up junior, senior year becoming really close again, and we started flirting more with each other. I ended up going to Kentucky, as y'all very well know, and I was very much in a weird headspace about like dating and trying to go on dates after my first ex-boyfriend, because I was worried the ex-boyfriend didn't want to tell anybody, and so we'd still stayed officially in a relationship on Facebook, for example, for another month after he had dumped me. Because let's be honest, like, we all knew it was gonna end, but he was the one to like pull the trigger and blame me for being so like conflict avoidant, and that was the problem, and not thinking about the future. And I'm like, you were not giving anything for that. Like, you were communicating more generally. I may have been better at communicating. I mean, that's still something I need to work on, but that was a problem I had. And then with this second guy in October timeframe, he asked me out because I was planning on going back in like December, like fly up for a weekend, spend some time, and he'd asked me on a date. And we were like dating for a couple of months. I'd gone back to visit again. He was planning to visit me, and then he suddenly, for me, breaks up with me in like late April. Yeah, it was end of April, because the next day was actually, I think, May 1st. And I only remember that because the only reason I got up that next morning, because I was so upset, was because I was putting in a request for something that was like always on the first of the month. So I was like, oh, I need to go do this. I look at that one and I'm like, at least he did things like waited until I'd finished all my homework and that I was near family, and it was like at a spot in my like academic year where I could handle having a week of being heartbroken. I do think about that, and he actually like sat in on my presentation. And in many ways, I miss that ex a lot. I don't even think, it's not even for the personality. It was just that there was security in that relationship. I could very clearly see a path, my life. It was definitely not the life that I'm currently living, but it was a life that I really think I may have enjoyed. Having the house, working the 9 to 5, coming home, just like spending the evenings together. And in that way, I'm like jealous. His mother and father are great people. And at points, I think his mother definitely wanted me as a daughter-in-law. She had liked me since I was a freshman in college. It hurt, that breakup, a lot, because it came out of nowhere, and because at points I'd had a crush on that guy so often. And I tried to get effectively back on the horse pretty quickly once that, like, with that breakup. Those dates were not super successful. I mean, I'd had 2 guys that I'd gone on a couple of dates with. One kind of fizzled out when he was like, oh, I don't want you to fall in love with me. And I'm like, I'm not in the headspace to do that. Like, I've got so many other things going on. And the other one, actually, I think about that guy fondly, we were not compatible in the long term whatsoever, but he was a good guy to like hang out with and spend time with. We meshed well generally together. I think about that because like I said, throughout this I would go on different dates, try to meet different people. Usually there was a lot of first dates, and in some ways I liked the apps because they made me feel better about myself, but it was never the like really handsome guys in my opinion. It was kind of, I mean, it was in my league, or I'd like to think maybe a little bit lower than my league in some of these cases. I never then seriously dated again after the like situationship, which kind of fizzled out at points. A lot of one-off dates. You guys saw that, especially like the one summer where I was going on, like I kept on trying to like go on dates and then something would go wrong. That only seemed to happen in like when I was trying to record a video actually. And the dates here, well not here, but like the dates back in California, there was one person I'd gone on like 3 dates with, and my problem was that they were just as shoddy of a texter as my one ex. And I was starting to be like, no, this is not even worth the kind of having a fun time with, like not being super serious and whatnot. I'm like, I don't want to deal with this, especially because I was like living with other people. I'm like, no, this is not okay. And with dating though, I'm worried. I'm almost 28, and it, like with my one sibling that is married, they met their partner when they were like 26, maybe even 25, I think, because I think they were dating the partner when I started high school. Think about that. And my grandparents, all of my grandparents were like met their partners in their like teens and early 20s. It helps that my parents didn't get married until they were like 32 and didn't meet each other until they were 31. Maybe, yeah, something like that. They were in their 30s by that point. Like they were proper adults. So like I know it's very feasible, but it's still lonely in many ways. And I get worried. My mom always makes the comment that she was pretty much every single guy's penultimate woman. And I worry that I'm that too. My first ex-boyfriend is now married. I'll be honest, the one comment I made when I saw that he was married was like, or getting married, I'm like, I hope he's a better partner to her than he was to me. Also, she better thank me for the fact I like convinced him to grow out a beard. But also, he didn't look amazing. I hate to say that comment, but kind of thought that a bit. And like I had a friend, like one of our mutual friends, like with an ex-boyfriend of mine, like our mutual friend of ours who honestly, I was or more his friend than the other way, had gone to the ex-boyfriend's bachelor party. Like he had gotten invited and he's like, it was weird. It was unsettling. And I'm like, okay, so I did jump shit. Awesome. And then the other ex is now very seriously dating this woman who like is a friend of ours. I'm happy for them because like they seem like a good couple. It's a little weird because with some of the like dynamics that are more college, and I don't know what is going on anymore because I haven't talked to them in years, but like I could see them getting married and I'm happy if that's what they want. But it also is just like I was the last person he very publicly dated, and that was the same thing with the first ex-boyfriend. And I'm like, am I going to be this penultimate woman for many of the people I dated? Like if I get another serious relationship, will I be their penultimate? And that worries me because like am I going to get my like person? Because my mom has made those comments, and like I'm like, well, you still got dad. And I think my mom is going off the fact that like women on her side die young. Yeah, you're not hitting the die young anymore. You're in your 70s. Also, like I'm not really going to let my dad get remarried because it never ends well. Like I think honestly, I know find love and all that, but I'm like, not with how I've seen the men in my family remarry after the death of a spouse that they loved so deeply. But I'm like, yeah. And we've had multiple stories that are really not great. I don't think I'm gonna let you do that one. Or like, we're all just gonna kind of convince you not to get remarried. I know that's like kind of not a great thing to say to like a widower, but like if my mom goes first, I'm not letting my dad get remarried. Like that's just, no, I don't want to deal with that. Mom's not going to be his penultimate, which I guess is something. It still hits a lot, and maybe it's just in my head that like I'm going to be the penultimate again and again because it happened one time, but it still sucks a lot. Dating is something that just like I feel nervous about, I feel anxious about. I get like, I so often just want to end up canceling the dates, even though I'm like, no, you gotta go. You made a commitment, you gotta go and do this. But it's hard, nerve-wracking, and I don't know what I bring to the table, and I don't know what I want in my future right now. It's so uncertain that in many ways it feels weird to be like, I want to like date somebody, because like I'm not in a great spot right now. I don't know how any of this is gonna work, if they're gonna even want to deal with me and all of my like eccentricities and whatnot, and my like weird hang-ups. I want to be cuddled, and I want to be like secure in a relationship, and I want to be able to just go out and hold hands and have somebody get so excited about Christmas and like kissing under the mistletoe, and want to do stuff for Valentine's Day. And I just haven't had that, and I don't know. I have one friend who says she cannot wait to see the guy that actually I end up with, or girl, let's be honest. I should date more women, but women scare me so much. But yeah, I don't know what I want. So like, I feel like then I don't deserve to be in a relationship in some things. It's a lot of thoughts. This is also going to be so much fun to edit and so much fun to upload, because I'm getting at like 25 minutes now. I mean, maybe if Santa Claus wants to come down this chimney and it looks like maybe like you and Mitchell, great. Otherwise, like maybe like another sign, another like little bit of information, when, where, what for this partner. Again, Santa Claus, like, come on, Santa baby song, please. I hope you guys did enjoy this video overall. Please remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.